The chains rattled as Lyra was dragged across the scorched earth. Her bare feet left small prints in the ash, and her wrists bled where the iron cuffs bit into her skin. She was 7 years old, and she had stopped crying 3 days ago. "Move, Bait," the mercenary captain spat, shoving her forward. Behind him, a dozen armed soldiers followed, their weapons gleaming in the red twilight. They wore the insignia of the Galactic Concordat, humanity's so-called protectors. But Lyra knew better now. She had learned what adults did when they were desperate. They used children. The mountain loomed ahead, its peak shrouded in perpetual storm clouds. Somewhere in those ancient caves lived Verath, the last of the stellar dragons. The Concordat had tried everything to kill him: orbital strikes, fusion bombs, entire fleets of warships. Nothing worked. Dragons weren't just creatures. They were forces of nature given form, beings that had crossed the void between stars long before humans learned to make fire. So they had changed tactics. Dragons, the xenobiologists theorized, had parental instincts. They protected the young of other species. It was a gamble, but the Concordat was willing to bet one human child's life to eliminate a creature that had destroyed 3 colonial outposts. Lyra was that bet. They chained her to a boulder at the mountain's base, just outside the largest cave entrance. The captain checked the restraints twice, then activated the neural beacon implanted in her skull. It would broadcast her fear, her pain, her helplessness directly into the dragon's mind. Irresistible bait. "The charges are set throughout the cave system," the captain said to his lieutenant. "When the beast comes for her, we collapse the entire mountain. Dragon, child, doesn't matter, both die, mission accomplished." They retreated to their gunships, leaving Lyra alone in the gathering darkness. She didn't scream, didn't beg. She simply sat there trembling and waited for death to come on wings of starfire. The first sign of Verath was the silence. The wind stopped. The distant calls of nocturnal creatures ceased. Even the ever-present hum of insects vanished, as if the world itself held its breath. Then came the eyes. They emerged from the darkness of the cave like twin moons, golden and ancient, burning with an intelligence that made Lyra's breath catch. The dragon moved with impossible grace for something so massive, each step deliberate and silent. His scales were the color of deep space, black that somehow contained all colors, shimmering with nebulae and distant starlight. Wings that could blot out the sun folded against his sides. Verath was beautiful, and he was death. He approached slowly, his massive head lowering until those enormous eyes were level with Lyra's small form. She felt his breath, hot and smelling of ozone and distant worlds. The neural beacon screamed her terror into his mind, but Lyra herself remained still. "Hello?" she whispered because she didn't know what else to say. The dragon's eyes widened fractionally. He tilted his head, studying her with an intensity that seemed to pierce through flesh and bone to the very essence of who she was. Then he spoke, and his voice was like thunder rolling across an infinite plain, yet somehow gentle. "A child." The words resonated in her chest, in her bones, in her soul. "They sent a child." "I'm the bait," Lyra said matter-of-factly. 7 years of a hard life had taught her there was no point in lying. "When you come close, they'll blow up the mountain. We both die." Verath's eyes narrowed, and Lyra felt rather than saw his consciousness expand outward, sensing the hundreds of explosive charges hidden in the rock around them. His lips curled back, revealing teeth like swords. "Humans," he growled. "I have lived for 3,000 of your years. I have seen civilizations rise and fall like waves upon a shore. But never, never have I seen a species so willing to sacrifice its own young." He moved closer, and Lyra tensed, expecting fire, expecting death. Instead, she felt the gentle touch of one massive claw against her chains. There was a flash of heat, the smell of melting metal, and suddenly, she was free. "Can you fly, little one?" Verath asked. Lyra shook her head, confused. "Then you will learn." Before she could protest, the dragon scooped her up with impossible gentleness and pressed her against his chest, between his forelegs where his scales were smoothest. One wing curved around her like a shield. "Hold tight to me," Varath commanded. What comes next will be terrifying, but I will not let you fall. The dragon's muscles bunched beneath her, and then they were airborne, launching skyward with such speed that Lyra's scream was torn away by the wind. Behind them, the mountain erupted. The concordat had been thorough. Enough explosive force to crack a moon detonated simultaneously, sending millions of tons of rock cascading downward. The shockwave pursued them like the fist of an angry god. But Varath was faster. He wove between falling boulders, his wings catching currents that shouldn't exist. Riding the very edge of the explosion's fury, Lyra felt his heart beating against her back, steady, strong, unafraid. His wing never wavered from its protective position around her small form. They burst through the debris cloud into clear air, and Varath roared. It was a sound that shook the heavens, a declaration of defiance that spoke of ancient power and unbreakable will. Below, the gunship scrambled to pursue, but they were slow, clumsy things compared to a creature born in the cosmic dark. Varath flew for hours, carrying Lyra across continents, over oceans, until they reached a place the maps called the Untamed. Reach, wild lands where humanity had yet to plant its flags. He descended into a valley of such pristine beauty that Lyra gasped. Gently, so gently, he set her down on soft grass beside a clear stream. "Why?" Lyra asked, her voice small. "Why did you save me?" Varath settled onto his haunches, his massive form somehow non-threatening despite its size. His golden eyes were sad, ancient and infinitely kind. "Because you are a child," he said simply. "Because you deserve better than to be used as a weapon. Because." He paused, and something that might have been pain flickered across his alien features. "Because I too had a daughter once, long ago, on a world that no longer exists, and I could not save her." Tears finally came then, streaming down Lyra's dirty face. All the fear, all the pain of the past days broke free in great heaving sobs. And Varath curled his vast form around her, his wing creating a shelter of warmth and safety, and let her cry. "What happens now?" she asked when the tears finally stopped. "Now," Varath said, "I teach you to survive. I show you the stars, little one, and when you are strong enough, when you are ready, we will make sure no one ever uses children as weapons again." Lyra looked up at the dragon, this ancient, powerful being who had chosen compassion over vengeance, who had seen humanity's worst and still found something worth protecting. "Okay," she said, and for the first time in days she smiled. Above them, the stars wheeled in their eternal dance, and somewhere in the vastness of space, the concordat's sensors marked one dragon and one child as targets eliminated. They had no idea how wrong they were,